Well, good morning on this hump day. Yes, it's Wednesday. I'm Pete Najarian. This is The Take for Market Rebellion. Wow, we had a little bit of a calm start yesterday after following a couple of really active days. And we talk about going back to last Friday, up 360 points, pretty strong day. We also look at Monday. We were up over 500 points, finished up over 400 plus points on Monday. And Tuesday, we start the day fairly calm, looks very quiet, not a whole lot going on. And before you know it, 90 minutes in, the markets are getting hit pretty hard. As a matter of fact, the Dow down about 220 points. Look over at the NASDAQ, not quite so bad, but down about 30 points or so. They all did stay in the red through the rest of the day. Crude really dropping was one of those factors. As a matter of fact, we talk about these crazy, wacky moves that we've seen out of the energy space on the price of oil oftentimes, and other different reasons why we've seen these energy names really start to move all around. Well, yesterday crude dropped about 4.5%, so that was certainly some pressure on the market. So, there were names that were definitely leading the market lower. Chevron, one of those names, very influential when it comes to the Dow. So certainly when you're looking for what were the drags in the market, well, it was Chevron. Also, some of the industrial space was really under pressure. You look at Boeing, look at Dow with the old Dow Chemical. You look at the financials, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, American Express pulling it on a little bit. You had Nike and Visa to the upside, but that was really about what we had in terms of some of the leadership to the upside, because a lot of the market really was getting pushed to the downside. Energy, like I mentioned, was getting hammered. The OIH down 4+%. And then you look over at the XLE, which we all know it's really powered by about 3 or 4 names, Chevron, Exxon, some of those names, down about 3.5%. So with the financials down about 1.5%, the industrials down about 1%, the markets were definitely getting pulled to the downside and didn't really have a big opportunity for any recovery. Now, if there was a bright spot yesterday, semiconductors actually were pushing into the green for the most part all day long. It was names like Qorvo, AMD, Micron actually producing. We had Western Digital, Lam Research, NVIDIA, those names. As a matter of fact, we had a little bit of paper in NVIDIA. We'll talk about that maybe a little bit later. Had some bullish activity, not only in NVIDIA, but we also did Qualcomm. We also had Applied Materials. So there was some activity, huge activity yesterday in Tesla. Just a monster trade, 40,000 contracts bought in just a couple of prints and a big move to the upside. So where did that really leave us by the end of the day? Well, volatility, 26-27, so not a whole lot of change there. What did stand out for me, though, yesterday was the volumes that did pull back even more so. We were talking about 24 million the day before. Just over 22 million contracts yesterday. Maybe we're getting towards the end of the quarter and people are sort of pulling back a little bit, but whatever the reason, certainly we are seeing movement in the market, but we're also seeing a little bit of a decline in some of the volumes, at least relative to what we have been seeing, particularly over the last couple of weeks where we've been talking about these 30 plus million contract days, and now we're pushing closer towards 20 million type contract days. Today starting off a little bit better than yesterday, however. So early on, we talk about today, early on, markets in the pre-market, we saw some pretty big negatives. And then we get a little bit closer and we had some early strength. Once we get into the opening bell, we're up about 200 points on the Dow. NASDAQ was up about 40. I'm looking right now just because we have shifted again to the upside. And we're up about 360 points on the Dow. We're up almost 120 points on the NASDAQ. S&P up about 33 points. And we've got the VIX down now, pressuring about 3.5% lower. So now we're in the 25s. We've talked about some of the contraction in the VIX, and now we're starting to see that little bit of a movement. So looks like we maybe capped out. We did have that spike. We talked about that last week, a couple times getting over 30. But now we've been steadily and we pulled back quickly. Now we're steadily sort of settling back in towards this 25, 26 sort of a range. So we'll see if that continues as well. Early on, financials really stood out for me because we've been watching the financials. We've been concerned about the financials. Financials, yeah, about 1% or so to the upside. You had energy and industrials also higher early, and now that's just sort of building, especially on the industrial side. That's a lot of what's really powering right now the Dow. If you're taking a look at the Dow and you see it up 350, 360 points, there's no doubt about it. You're looking at the industrials for a lot of that leadership there. It's Boeing, it's Dow, it's Honeywell, it's Caterpillar, it's 3M, all of those participating to the upside right now. A lot of excitement over the hopes, at least, of a stimulus. Now, this has been going on for weeks and weeks. I think it started really in the early parts of September where we were talking about what are we going to do about a stimulus package? How's this going to play out? Well, it seems like that is something, as well as vaccines. We continue to talk and monitor a lot about that. So there are some positives out there. Will that continue or will that break down? Well, only time will tell, but we'll certainly see. Back to today, we got to talk about some of these industrials, but it's not just about the industrials. It's about the semiconductors as well. And I'm taking a look to see what was really sort of part of the movement in the semiconductors, at least early on. They were up small, not off small, up small, just moving around. But quietly, take a look at a name like Intel that's trading 51.5. Now, this is a name that was given up for dead by a lot of people. It got into those mid to upper 40s, and now it's had this sort of steady, kind of quiet little move to the upside. So that's one of those names I think you want to keep a track of as well. NASDAQ, you've got Tesla, you've got Lulu, you've got Starbucks, you got all kinds of different names that are helping that out. And then throw in some of these airlines. With the flips each and every day is amazing with the airlines. Today, the flip is back up to the upside. That's part of what's really powering things right now, because you look at the airlines, you've got American Airlines, you've got Delta, you've got United, you've got Southwest, all up about 3% or more. So a nice big solid move to the upside there. Now, as we move to end of quarter, there may be some jostling around. There might be some things that are going to be movement. So I think you just have to be knowledgeable about that and understand that some of the moves, maybe late in the day particularly, might be just some programs and different reasons of why we might see a little bit of that crazy movement. We'll see if that actually pans out. It's early. We're only 45 minutes into the day. We're up 360 points right now, and we got to give you some unusual option activity. So I mentioned NVIDIA earlier. Yesterday, we had some buyers in NVIDIA. A big buyer, 9,000 of the October 2nd, that's Friday, today's Wednesday, that's Friday, very, very short time frame. We had the October 2nd expiring 550 calls getting bought yesterday, about 9,000 of those. What's really interesting about that trade is this morning, one of the first trades that's hit, and we've already had about 10 or 12 hit on the unusual option activity. We're 46 minutes into the trading session. 4,500 more of the October 2nd 550 calls trading again. Buyers on both. Buyers yesterday of the 9,000, buyers today of the 4,500. These are going for a little over $2, maybe even a little bit more. Stock was trading today around $533.70. So these are still out of the money. It's going to take a pretty significant move, but we've seen moves out of names like Tesla and NVIDIA and, of course, Apple and many of these names. They make rapid moves, it seems like, at times, and it can be very, very amazing to watch how fast they can move. Will this be able to make a move before we hit Friday's expiration cycle? Who knows? But I can tell you this, interesting to see, because some very, very large buyers yesterday and today on top of each other. That's always interesting for us, because that follow-up buying, there really is a commitment there that somebody out there seems to think that NVIDIA definitely has some upside. Now, it's going to have to move very quickly, folks. If you understand theta, time value is very critical. You've got today, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday for these to work, or they completely start to lose because of that theta value as that factors in. Understand the options, guys. This is the growth area of the industry. I talked about how it's a little bit slower today. It's still 22 million. If you're talking 22 million, we're talking about an amazing number in any other year would be over 20 million. So always keep that in mind when we're talking about how busy and how we've slowed down. Yes, over 30 million plus, and we've pulled off of that number significantly over the last couple of trading sessions, but 22 million is still a very large number. So just keep that in mind. Knowledge is king. You got to have that knowledge. Our people over here at Market Rebellion do the very best in the industry. They educate you. They can put you through the paces of education at the beginning level, medium, experienced, whatever you want. We've got the guys who actually can fill that void that you may have, and you can have a better understanding of what goes on in this world. It's what we talk about all the time. It's why we named our book, Follow the Smart Money. Where the smart money goes, well, leverage has left the market, except in the derivatives world. That's where we are. That's where we love to be. Folks, have a great day of trading.